reconciling the land with God. 2 Samuel chapter 24, verse 24 and 25. Then the king said to Araunah, "No, but I will surely buy it from you for a price. Nor will I offer burnt offerings to the Lord my God with that which cost me nothing." So David bought the threshing floor and the oxen for 50 shekels of silver. And David built there an altar to the Lord and offered burnt offerings and peace offerings. So the Lord heeded the prayers for the land, and the plague was withdrawn from Israel. At the beginning of this year, we prayed for this nation. There were three things we identify as the challenges that the nation must face this year, because they were carried over from previous year and we were starting the year with them. We identified the COVID-19 pandemic. We identified the state of the economy, and we identified the issue of insecurity. Three things: the pandemic, the economy, and insecurity. I remember we asked God to intervene in each of these areas, because his intervention was crucial if the nation will move forward in the year. At the end of August, we had reason to pray again for the land. Why? Because by the end of August, the insecurity situation had reached overwhelming proportion. It has become like a plague. No part of the nation was secure anymore. There are bandits, there are Boko Harams, there are kidnappers. There is nowhere that is safe. There is the IPOB. Everywhere, the Igboho, I think it's Igboho they call it. Everywhere, secessionists. Was like a plague. And we came back again to pray that God will do something about insecurity. Interestingly, both in January and in August, we used this 2 Samuel 24 for the two occasions. And what we were asking God in the second time was for him to withdraw, to cause to be withdrawn the plague. As we reflect on our 64th and first anniversary, God will have us look at the passage again and still see one or two things helpful for the issue of the land and helpful when we also find ourselves in very difficult situation that plagues our lives. But before we look at the passage, let's look again at those three things we identify. Number one, COVID-19. Of course, the rate at which it was going before and up to the beginning of the year, you remember those of you who follow, they give us weekly, there was a time they give daily report. Then they turn it to weekly report. So they don't even give daily report again. And then Delta variant came in. And I don't know why everybody thinks that Nigeria is a fertile ground for the pandemic to fetter and bear fruit and kill all Nigerians. But we want to thank God. I checked the website of NCDC and discovered that for week 36 and 37 of this year, which week 37 is September 13 to 19, week 37 retained lowered compared to week 36. More and more, instead of COVID infection and death increasing, it is reducing. That calls for thanksgiving. That calls for we're not out of it, but we're not the worse for it as a nation. What about the economy? Things have not improved greatly with our economy, but things have been fairly stable. Things have been fairly stable. So, can you imagine that $1 is 500 and something naira? That's true. How many of you spend dollar that you are worrying about what dollar cost? What do you spend? Did you ever take your naira to market and you couldn't buy anything? Have you even noticed that we have more 20 nairas and more 50 nairas now? Telling us that with your 20 naira, you can buy something. So, I don't use dollar. So what is my problem? What is my problem? I was asking some people. $1 they say is 500 and whatever. If you take that 500 and something naira to Mama put, will you eat or not eat? Very well or small? With toothpick or no toothpick? Do you know that if you go to America with $1, you can't buy food? You can't buy food with $1 in America. And 500 naira will give you food, you will even cross your leg, ask for toothpick. So let those who deal with dollar keep complaining and crying about dollar. But those of us who spend naira, we have reasons to thank God because naira has not failed. Naira has not crashed. There was a time in Genesis chapter 47, verse 15. Genesis 47, verse 15. He said money failed. Money failed. So money can fail. It was after money failed that people now rush to Egypt to beg for food. We're not begging for food. When it is evening time, if you want to eat fresh fish and you have a few naira with you, there are many corners where you will go, Abi. You don't even need to be the one to catch the fish. In fact, with 1, 2, or 3,000 naira, they will give you a big fish with some Irish potato, roasted. Some will even put plantain for you. They will put it in a foil paper, warm meat for you, and give you to take home to go and eat. I mean, there are places you go. If what you want is to point to the fish you want, they will take you to their pond. They call it point and what? You know what I'm talking about. You will be the one that, okay, give me that one. Will they ask you for dollar there? Your naira is okay. Your naira is okay. So even though the economy is not what we expect it to be, but God has been gracious. Our naira has not failed. We still can use it. We can use it to get life going. Those who are dealing with dollar, God bless their heart. When we get to America, we will join them to spend the dollar. Those who are doing pound sterling, when we get to UK, we join them to spend the money. But here, what do we spend here? We should be proud of our naira. God has been so good to us. God has been so good to us. The third one we're praying for is issue of security. Although the problem is still with us in the nation, but I don't know how many of you noticed that as we enter the month of September, things changed. Things changed. Things changed. Suddenly, everybody now began to take the matter seriously. From the month of September, even the federal government was ready to fight. So they went after all the people they should go after. It has so changed within those periods, just 4 weeks, that a few days ago, a senator from one of the northwestern states stood in the Senate and made an appeal that the Senate should tell the president to declare bandits as terrorists. I'm sure some of you heard that news. And others supported him, and that their leaders should be declared wanted. But they've been saying this thing before. And these were the same northern leaders defending need. I'm not even sure the government can say by how much they have done. But one thing the president said a few days ago is, we are fighting the war and we are winning the war. In August, every time you want to travel, your heart is beating. By September, things are calming down. We are not there yet. But there's reason to do what? To thank God. There's reason to thank God. We need to tell ourselves this so that it will not look like God hates this country. No. Or like God is not answering our prayers. No. God is answering our prayers. God is answering our prayers. Don't worry about naira and dollar when you get to a position to spend it. The God who gave you naira, he will also give you what? He will give you dollars. He will give you dollars. But then, what we are looking for is not just progress. We want these things to end. The pandemic should end. The economic problem should end. Banditry, Boko Haram, all of those terrorists, essentialists should also end. And that brings us now to 2 Samuel chapter 24, where we read, how do you finally get God to stop the plague? How do you finally get God to stop the plague? Now, don't forget what happened. David numbered Israel, and God became angry. And out of his anger, he gave David 3 options. David picked one of the options, and the option led to the killing of people. The wind just blew in the hand of an angel, and people were just dying. And then at a point, God said, okay, pause. Like we said, just hold on. And then God was a prophet. He was one of those prophets who see for David. You see for David. So God went and told David, you know what? The way this thing is going, why don't you go and build an altar? Go and raise an altar to God. Go and raise an altar to God. Many times, God works with principles. And if you miss out on the principles for whatever reason, you will suffer. You will suffer. Go and raise an altar. That was what God said to David. I don't know, maybe David didn't even remember that, but as soon as God said, he said, yeah. Thank you. Quickly. He went. He got to the place he was to raise the altar. And the man said, if it is an altar to God to stop this problem, I am suffering too. Take it and build the altar. David said, no. You don't build altar on free land, on freebies. You build altars with what will cost you something. It's a principle. So he bought the place. And once he bought the altar, what he would do on that altar would determine how God will respond thereafter. So what did David do? Verse 25. David built there an altar to the Lord, and on that altar, the Bible said, he offered burnt offerings and peace offerings on the altar to the Lord. Burnt offerings and peace offerings. That's intentional. Very, very intentional. Now, when you read Leviticus chapter 1, verse 1 to 17, Leviticus chapter 1, verse 1 to 17, and Leviticus chapter 6, verse 8 to 13, Leviticus chapter 6, 8 to 13. Two passages. Leviticus 1, 1 to 17, 6, 8 to 13. You will find the instruction about burnt offerings there. Now, burnt offerings are a special. There are 5 kinds of offerings that God demanded from them. And each one of them have their significance. But the first offering was burnt offering. And interestingly, from the way Leviticus 1 put it, the last one was peace offering. When do you offer burnt offering? Burnt offerings are offered to appease God when God is angry, and to show that you want to totally surrender to Him anew. Burnt offering is to express your devotion, worship, and commitment to God. So when David was going to offer, the first thing he did was to offer burnt offerings, saying to God, don't be angry with us again. I am leaving this nation in your hand in a new way. I am surrendering it to you. You know, the error he made first was to claim leadership and number the people as if it's all his own. But by offering burnt offering, he was saying, God, I surrender all over, surrender to you. The second offering he offered were peace offerings. You find instruction about peace offering in Leviticus chapter 3, 1 to 17. Leviticus chapter 3, 1 to 17. And then Leviticus chapter 7. Chapter 7, 11 to 21 and 28 to 34. Leviticus chapter 7, verse 11 to 21 and 28 to 34. When you read about peace offerings are offerings of seeking friendship with God. You want God to be your friend. You want to seek a renewed union, a renewed fellowship with God. You want to let God know, notwithstanding all that has happened, I appreciate you. I can't do without you. I want you to be my friend all over again. And usually, it ends with a feast. So everybody eats before God to show that now we are not fighting any more. Now, these were the two that David offered. And by offering those two, what David was saying is, God, I totally surrender to you. And let's be friends again. Let's be friends again. Be the friend of our nation again. Let's be friends. Let's make peace. Let's have new fellowship. as David offered the two, what happened? The plague ended. The plague ended. He said, so the Lord heeded the prayers for the land, and the plague was withdrawn from Israel. Two, 3 days ago, only God knows the volume of prayers that went on for this nation. God answers prayer. But, just like we saw earlier, prayers move at its own pace. David wanted this thing